Hello, welcome to Earth Engine tutorial 110. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create choropleth maps with various classification schemes. And first, let me show you what the result looks like. So this is for the leaf map, but it's the same for Gmap because the functions are pretty much the same. And so you can see you can create maps like this, interactive map with different classification schemes and natural breaks, equal interval, something like that. And so based on a numerical column. So in this case, this is example using population. So they say you want to create a map of population distribution around the globe, and then you can use Gmap or leaf map just with one line of code. And so this is what we're going to cover in this video. So first, let's go to the Gmap website to download the notebook example. And so once you're on the website, click tutorials, and then scroll down to find number 110, and then you can click the upper right corner here to download this one to your computer. Then you can open using Jupyter Lab or Jupyter Notebook. So this one here, the function we're going to use is actually based on the package called map classify. So you can just type map classify, Google it, and so it's a package from PySail. So this is the optional package of the optional dependency of Gmap. So you need to actually install it using pip install map classify. If you're running the function here, if there's no install, it's going to throw out an error. So make sure that you install that, and then just import Gmap. So we're going to use the example. So this is the country's GeoJSON. So it's actually using, so let me show you here, Gmap doc examples. So I added this one so that you can easily access all the example dataset without having to find the URL. So you can see gmap.examples doc dataset, and you will be able to see all the examples files from there. You can also find it directly from the Gmap GitHub repository. So those variable actually points to the examples dataset. So everything in here. So it makes it easier for you to access that. So it's a little bit shorter. In this case, we're going to use the country GeoJSON, COUN, right? This one. So if you execute, it's going to actually print out this one. So behind this, under the hood, this one actually is equal to this URL. So if you want, you can click, you can take a look. So it's the same as here, country GeoJSON. So if you click this one and then you click the lower button, my internet is a bit slow, but it's actually direct link, the direct URL to the file, right? So you can see it looks like this. Just like here, you click the lower button. Okay, so that's the sample data set, and this is a GeoJSON. So if you want, you can add this one to the map, but I can first show you, for example, if you want to find out what the data looks like, what the attribute table looks like, you can use the gmap.geojson to df. So this one is going to allow you to convert the GeoJSON to a pandas data frame, so you can see the attribute table. So, and what you need is just passing the data. So in GeoJSON, it can be a local file or it can be an HTTP URL. So in this case, you'll be just this data variable. So if you just put data, press Control Enter, then you should be able to see the attribute table. So this is a country, right? It's 176 countries. And so this is what the attribute table look like. You will see the column name, right? So what we are interested in here is this one, population estimation, right? So for all the countries, and we're trying to create a map that use this column, but we're going to use different classification schemes. And you can see these are some of the available classification schemes, and you can use one of those. So next, let's explore how we can do that. But first, maybe let me show you under the hood what we're actually using. So we're using the function, the Gmap function called classify. So you can just type gmap.classify, enter, and then parentheses, shift tab. You should be able to see the function parameters. So this one essentially takes in a data frame. So it's just a data frame, and then, or it can be a GeoJSON, and You can see here, or it can be a GeoPandas data frame. So take a look at this here. It can be a string, it can be a file path, or it can be already a data frame. And then you can specify what kind of column you want to use to classify, right? So in this case, we're going to use this one, the population estimation. After that, you can specify what kind of color do you want, what kind of classification scheme. So this is very important. This is how you classify the data based on this numerical column, right? So what we're trying to do here will be data, right? And then the column will be equal to POP-EST. And these are the only two required parameters. After that, you can just simply press enter. But because the result returns both the data frame and also a dictionary, can be used to add as a legend. So what we need to do is to, for example, I can do a df and then legend equal to this one. So take a look, alt enter. It's going to classify the data based on the specified classification scheme. And because we don't specify, it's going to by default use the quantile measures, and then just type df, right? So now you see this is the pandas data frame that's being returned. So most of the columns are actually the same as the previous one. Take a look, right? This is the previous one, the existing data, and now after we classify the data, it will add two new columns, right? The category and also the color. The category is like based on your specified classification scheme. It's going to assign a number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to whatever number of classes that you use. And in this case, because it is using quantile, so it's every 20% you get one. So it's going to be from 1 to 5. And then based on this one, also based on the color scheme that you use, it's going to give you, it basically assign a color. And so this is the color that's going to be used to assign a color on the map, right? So you can, if you want, you can choose a different color scheme. So the CMap in here, by default, take a look at this one, default to none. So it's going to use as a map, probably the default color map, but you're welcome to change that. And also for the classification scheme, so what you need to just use this one, and then you can use any of those. So let me show you here. Let's say I scheme equal to, right? And then you can copy from any of those. So they say I want the equal interval and paste on this one here. So now it's going to change the result. So pay attention to this one here, because by default it's using the quantile. So you see 1514 after you use to equal interval, you're supposed to see the kind of a different result. So like look, shift enter. Right, now these are all 1111. So earlier it is 1514. So that means if you choose a different classification scheme, you're going to get different category because it's using different methods to classify the data, basically to class the data into different categories, and then you're going to use a different color. So this is how you can get result. You can certainly also print out the legend. So this is being returned. It's going to show you what's going to be used later when we create an interactive map, and you're going to have a label and so is the color, right? But this is just if you use the function, you don't need this one. So it's basically the add data function is a shortcut to what we did earlier, right? So you classify the data, and then you add the data to the map, and then you can assign the color based on the data frame. But now we just use this just one line of code. We create an interactive map, and then we add data. So this data, again, it can be a pandas data frame, or it can be a file, or it can be a GeoJSON. It can be anything that you can open using GeoPandas. And then you specify what kind of column do you want to use to classify the data, what kind of color scheme, a classification scheme you want to use, what color map you want to use, right? So those are all the matplotlib color map you can support. And then also the legend title, what kind of title do you want to use. So let's just shift enter to execute the data, and take a look, one line of code. Now you have the interactive map. So this one here is using the quantile. So the quantile basically, it classifies data into 5 categories, and every category you have the same number of elements. So basically, for example, they say 176 is divided by 5, and then you get maybe 30 something, less than 40 number of countries. So you see the color actually kind of evenly distributed because we have 5 categories in here, and each category supposed to have a very similar number of countries that assigned to this color, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the label is this one here. So from the size, the population of that country, and it has a lot more other parameters. So if I put my cursor within the parentheses and then shift tab, you should be able to see, right? We just only use a couple of those. So we use the color map and the classification scheme, and we also add the legend. So by default, this is the one here. On the upper right corner here, this is the legend, right? The title. You can also customize some of the keys if you want. And classification, we also allows you to customize. So by default, it's going to just, like, if I hover my mouse, you will see it changed to a little slightly more transparent, so you can see the base map beneath the data. But everything here can be customized. So if you're interested in, you can watch my other video showing you how to customize the style. And also the last one here, info mode equal to on hover. That means when I hover my mouse, lower right corner here, it's going to show you the attribute, basically the pop-up. If you don't need that, you can change it. So I can say, for example, info, come back to here again, equal to, so we can change it to on click. On click means only when you click on the map, it's going to show you. So now when I hover my mouse, it doesn't come up, right? So if I click here, then it's going to show you, right? If I click this one, it's going to North America, United States, right? So if you click, and if you don't need it, you can click this one. It's going to zoom out and minimize this one. So this is the first one, quantile. And again, for the color map, you can change to whatever you want. So they see if you have one called blues, there's probably another one called greens, right? So shift it again, execute, then you should be able to see a different color. So everything is highly customizable. If you enter a color map that's not supported, we get an error. So if I, for example, green SS, I don't believe this one exists, and it's going to show you, okay, it doesn't exist. And so from there, you should be able to pick one of the color from here. And for example, autumn, and come back to here, change this color, shift enter, then you want to get a new different color. So it applies to every different classification scheme, right? So autumn changing from red color to yellow, right? And clearly you can still see, like, the yellow represent higher number of population, right? So, and then the red color represent less populated. So this is for the equal for the quantiles, but you can easily change to other classification scheme. Again, you can go up to here to see the list of available classification schemes, and some of those might need some additional parameters, but you can simply just copy the name and then paste, and this is how you can create a map pretty easily. So the second one, we're going to use the same thing, but we're going to use equal interval. So this one, you will expect to see a very different pattern. Let me come back to here, and change it to the same so that you can compare the difference, right? So this is quite balanced. You see the color, each color kind of has a similar number of countries, but for this one, it's totally different, right? So you can see most of the countries right now in here in the white color in the lowest category, and only 2 countries, for example, China and India, are kind of in the dark blue color, and also had the US, right? So 1, 2, 1, 2, and 3. The reason for this is the equal interval takes the minimum number and the maximum number, and then you get the range, and then the range being divided evenly throughout. So because you have only a few countries that have a very large population, so you're going to skew the data, and most of the countries, when you compare to the larger population, is just a very tiny portion. So that's why you see the majority of those are right now in the white color, because they all belongs to this category. So you can see, right, how many, this is like 275 million. So most of the country belongs to this category, and also the US is in And this one, I believe these two do not have any category. And then China and India belongs to this one, right? So this is how it's basically if your data is kind of have some skew to the majority of those are small numbers, you probably don't want to use this one because definitely it's not going to show the map evenly distributed. Okay, and then you can change others, for example feature change and also natural break, whatever, right? It depends on what kind of things you want to look at, right? So this one kind of similar to the first one, but it's still different. So this one is trying to look at the maximize the between classes difference, but minimize the internal. So whatever countries that belong to this one is trying to minimize the variation, but it maximizes the variation between classes. And so similarly, right, this is, for example, I want to maybe find out a similar one called natural breaks. So you can copy this one, come back to the last one here. I can just change this and then shift enter. You should be see a different one, right? Natural break, and they say I want a different color, Chrome. Shift enter, and you get a different color. So this is how you can actually create a map pretty easily, just using one line of code. You can customize the legend, you can customize the pop-up, you can customize the style if you want. So everything is easily customizable. So all you need is just the function add data and then passing the URL, file path, data frame, geo data frame, and specify what kind of column you want to use, what kind of classification you want to use, and also the map, probably color map. And the last one is the legend. So if you don't need the legend, or most likely you want the legend, but if you don't need this one, for example, the pop-up, you can just simply info more equal to false, and then it won't you have that one. So you just the legend. So this is how you can create a map pretty easily. Okay, so that's all for this video. I hope you find it useful. I will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye bye.